John here. It's Monday, so that means some more alternate picking tips for you. In today's lesson, I'm going to share a routine that will really help you synchronize your hands. Something that I've used for a long time, and it really helped my playing a lot. But as with anything, you need to do this consistently. You can't try it once and then just be like, yeah, that didn't work. That's like going to the gym and, doing a few biceps curls and be like, nope, I'm not Arnold yet. So please give this some time, and also really listen to what I'm saying in the lesson and try that first. And if that doesn't work, you can come back here and leave angry comments, but at least try it the way that I suggested first. If you want tabs for this stuff, you can go to my Patreon, and besides getting all the tabs, you'll also get access to the huge Patreon library containing hundreds of different lessons. Alright, here's the slow version. We start on the 19th fret of the high E string. Alright, this lick is based on the C sharp minor scale, or C sharp Aeolian. We start here on the flat 7 of the key, which will be the B note, starting on the 19th fret of the high E string. So first off, we'll play a group of 6 notes. That's going to be followed by this Yngwie-esque descending fourth sequence. Basically, you have 3 notes in each position, and the sequence you play using those 3 notes would be 1, 3, 2, 1. That is if we number the notes from left to right, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 3, 2, 1, move down to the next set of 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, next set of 3, and so on. And we're gonna do this like this. Then move up 1 position. So basically doing a pattern like this. But on each note you add. Right, so again from the beginning we have the 6s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then groups of 4. And at this point, we're just going to descend. So we just go down the scale, basically. So again, slowly from the beginning. So a quick note here, the subdivision that I envisioned when playing this was 16th notes, so 4 notes per beat. So even though we start with 6s here, it still played 4 notes per beat. I just said 6s because it's easier for you to see the pattern. And also having 6 notes here, then this pattern becomes quite clear, because when you add this and do it in 16th notes, the actual groups of 4 pattern here kind of gets a bit obscured, because the accent is going to be on 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So if you do everything correctly, you should end up on the beat here as well. So 3, 4. Alright, so the picking routine will go as follows. We're going to use 3 fingers at a time. And we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4. And we're going to play them in this way. We're going to start at the 1st fret of the high E string. And we're going to do this with alternate picking, obviously. And the most important thing here when you do this is that you want to make sure that, 1, you stick to the tempo. I don't want you to raise the tempo, that's not the point here. You want to stick to that tempo, and it's fine to go lower as well. Because again, we're working on control and accuracy here. So I don't want to hear any fumbled notes or playing out of time or anything like that, because then I don't believe it will work. It will definitely not work as well, because we're trying to build a skill here, and it's not about pushing the speed at this point. It's fine to push the speed after you practice and just have fun or working on a specific lick. But when you work on your general technique, that will really help you improve massively over time, you want to make sure that you're really focused on what you're doing and you get all the good reps in. I can't stress that enough. So if you're one of those guys or girls that have been pushing the metronome and really try that method and it doesn't work for you, try this. Give this a try for a couple of weeks. Just do it daily and see what happens. Because if the other way hasn't really worked out for you, maybe this will be the better option. Or a combination of them both, right? So at least give it a try and keep an open mind. And when it comes to the tempo here, again, don't push it faster than 80 BPMs, 8 notes. So no faster than 80 BPMs, 2 notes per click. You can definitely go slower if you need to, that's fine. The only thing that will happen is that the routine will take slightly longer, but there's no point in even doing this if you can't execute it in the way that you need to do it. So keep that in mind, keep the tempo as low as you want, and don't go above 80 BPMs. All right, so this is the way that the exercise actually goes. So we're gonna use accents in conjunction with this single string exercise, and the accents is really what's gonna make this even more powerful for your synchronization practice. So the exercise itself is based on this kind of pattern. Basically moving up with whatever fingering we're working on at the moment, moving up 1 fret at a time. So you play 3 notes ascending, move up, 3, keep going like that until you reach the end. And you want to start at the 1st fret, but I'm going to be here at the 5th now, so it's easy to explain. But now on top of that, we want to add another layer of difficulty. So one, we got to get more focused because we can't just, let's go for it. We need to keep the accents correct. And also the accents here is the kind of accents that I talked about before, where it's more of like a mental accent. You don't want to go do that. You want to accent it, but it's going to be a slight accent. The whole purpose of the accent is really to get what I call the spotlight effect, where whatever note you're hitting at the accent point, your brain will notice a bit extra. So you can really see if you're making a mistake at that point, and then you can correct it. And that's why it's so good. It really keeps you honest with yourself. So when we start with a downstroke here, and we're going to basically apply 4 notes over these 3 notes. And what I mean by that is basically you do this. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're back to 1 again. So basically you get this sort of traveling accent. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I do this in one position, you can see how the accent travels. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we want to apply this moving up the neck and then down. So I'm gonna demonstrate just the whole exercise now, as you can see it, with the metronome. But the accents that I'm using is not gonna be overly audible. It's more, like I said, me keeping track of what finger am I accenting in each position. It's pretty easy to keep track logically, because the accent's gonna travel in the direction of the notes. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, meaning the fingers here. So let's just check this out when I play the whole thing up and down. So when you basically go all the way up as far as you can go on your guitar, and then you stop and then you turn it around, and then you do the same thing but backwards. So in that case, you're gonna go 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And the accents will be the same, but now in that order. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and the reason why I have this sort of piezo kind of sound is for you to hear the accent a bit more when I do it. 3, 4. So at 80 BPMs, it takes around, it's a bit less than a minute to go up and down. And we want to do this with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So 4 minutes per string, times 6, so around between maybe 22, 23, 24 minutes, around that time span. But if you need to lower the tempo and it takes you 30 minutes, fine, much better to do that so you get it, the whole benefit of this thing. And also you might find that for the first week you need to keep it slower than 80, but it's totally fine to jack it up to 80 eventually, but don't go above that, because I think it's a certain point where it's going to be harder for you to really focus on getting this perfect, and that's the whole key behind this exercise. Another thing that I want you to do, if you start with 1, 2, 3, for example, you start with a downstroke, and then you do 1, 2, 4, you start out with an upstroke, and then you do 1, 3, 4, downstroke, 2, 3, 4, upstroke. And then you turn that around the next day. So the next day you start 1, 2, 3 with an upstroke, 1, 2, 4 with a downstroke, 1, 3, 4 with an up, and then 2, 3, 4 with a down. So basically you cycle through these, so you've started on both a downstroke and an upstroke without having to do everything twice in a day. And when you start on an upstroke, if it's not obvious, you're still going to have the accent in the same places, but in this case now the accent's going to fall on the upstrokes instead. It's going to be up, 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 and so on. And that's going to feel different, and if it feels really bad, be happy, because then you know you have a lot of room for improvement there. And alternate picking, especially on a single string, is very binary, it's up and down. So if you have trouble with upstrokes, you have a huge amount of improvement available right there just by doing it, and you'll get more comfortable, and eventually you'll find that your downstroke, starting phrases with downstroke, will also feel better. So your overall technique will improve a lot if you happen to feel really bad about starting with an upstroke. So my whole point is that don't feel bad about that. Be happy that you found an area where you have a lack of skill, and then you have a really good chance to improve quite quickly in that area. Alright, so hopefully this was crystal clear. If it's not, please leave a comment so I can help you out so you can get started practicing as soon as possible. And also, don't feel like this is a beginner thing just because, well, I told you so in the beginning that it's good for beginners, but also that it's a single string, and you might feel like, well, what about pick slanting and all that stuff? In my experience, and it's a lot of experience here, I've been teaching privately since the beginning of 2000s. I had thousands of students, so I've seen this problem a lot, and also in my own playing, that if you skip the fundamentals, meaning working on single string picking, for example, you will have a much harder time playing things that are harder than that. So it just makes sense, right? If you can't synchronize your hands on a single string, how could you expect yourself to be able to do it while also having to traverse different strings back and forth and string skipping and all that stuff? So really do yourself a favor and work on the fundamentals here, because that will strengthen your overall alternate picking technique. And I know it's not always the most fun thing to do, and you want to play fast and all that stuff, but really give this a try, and I'm 100% sure it will help you as well if you stick to the guidelines that I laid out for you. Thanks again for watching, and if you have any suggestions on future videos on any topic, please let me know. Otherwise, have a good one and see you in the next one.